All right, this is 6.1B, day 2, compound shapes with circles. So yeah, the previous lesson was just about circles, and this will be about parts of circles and shapes that are made up of other shapes and circles. So our question again, how do I find the area and perimeter of compound shapes with circles? So remember, this is my diameter, this is my radius, around is the circumference or the perimeter. Circumference of a circle is found using either the formula circumference equals pi times the diameter, or, not both, circumference equals 2 pi times the radius. Area of a circle is pi r squared. So we're using one of those two formulas, 3 formulas actually, to solve for the shapes we're looking at. So the first word we have to remember, we talked about this in unit 4, whatever the last 5, the last one is. A semicircle is half. Remember, half in math is specific. It is exactly 2 equal parts. And quadrant is a quarter of a circle. So we have some similar parts of speech here. So we're going to be looking at shapes that include circles, semicircles, quarter circles, things like that. So the first one, we're rounding each problem to the 10th place. That's 1 decimal point, just in case you forgot. And there won't need to be any that are really straightforward for this section because you did that in the previous lesson. So this is all using the formula a little bit differently. So this time I'm looking for the diameter, and I'm giving you an area. Area gives me a radius, which means I'm going to have to do some math after I find the radius in order to be able to find the diameter. So area equals 313.8. 313, let me erase that, I wrote that wrong. Area equals pi r squared. 313.8 equals pi r squared. I'm going to divide by pi. I get r squared equals 99.88, which means that r is 10.0 when we round to 1 decimal point. So then the diameter is it twice r or half of r? It's twice r. So this is 2r, which is 2 times 10, which is 20 meters. Now, I want you to read the next question carefully. I need to find the circumference if I have the area. So that's going to be a 2-part question, because first I have to find the radius, and then I have to use the radius to find the circumference. So we start with the idea that area equals pi r squared. Eventually, I'm going to have to use that formula, C equals 2 pi r, but I don't have any information yet. So area is 254.5 equals pi r squared. Divide by pi. I get that r squared equals 81. That means r is 9. Simple enough. Remember, all of these are done to the 10th place, so that's why I round it that way. So now I have an r. So now I can say that circumference is 2 pi times 9, which is 56.5 centimeters. Not a hard problem, but you have to do it in pieces. So let's think about number 3. I'm given the area and I want to find the radius and the perimeter. If I have the area, then I can use that to find the radius, and then I can find the perimeter in that order. So area equals pi r squared. 6 equals pi r squared. Divide by pi. Let me back up. I wasn't thinking when I wrote that down. If the area of a semicircle is 6, then the area of a circle is 12. Remember, this is half, so I have to double it. So then 12 equals pi r squared. Divide by pi. R squared is 3.318. So R is 1.95 centimeters. Okay. So that's the area of a semicircle. Now, if I want a semicircle, the formula C equals 2 pi r only accounts for that piece. So then I know that this is 1.95 and 1.95. So I have to remember to add those two pieces when I'm done. So that's 2 pi 1.95. So I get 12.25 centimeters, but then I have to add my two radiuses to get the total circumference. So 5, 10, 15, that's 10, 21, 2, 4, 5, 6, 1. 16.15 centimeters would be the circumference for a semicircle. So now we're going to look at some application problems. You'll notice the first two are pretty basic, but we have to be able to apply that information. So let's start with the circumference. The circumference of this is, we're going to call it the arc, equals half pi d, right? That's circumference. That's half of pi times 20. That's 31.4. So then the circumference equals 31.4 plus 20, which is 51.4 centimeters. So there's my circumference. Area equals half of pi r squared, which is half pi 10 squared, which is 157.1 centimeters squared. Now, why did I use halves here? Because that's a semicircle. When we do the number 5, I'm going to use that same fraction idea, except I'm going to use a fourth. So if this is 7, then this is 7, because it's a quarter circle, you use radiuses to make it. So the arc, or this piece right here, is 1/4 pi times 14, because the diameter is 14. That is 11.0. Remember, we're all still doing to the 10th place. That means that the perimeter, or the circumference, equals 11.0 plus 7 plus 7, which comes out to be 25 centimeters. Area is 1/4 pi r squared. It's only 1/4 of a circle, so I can just divide by 4 or multiply by a fraction. So that's 1/4 pi 7 squared, which is 38.5 centimeters squared. Number 6. So we're doing two shapes here. There's shape 1 and shape 2. So we've got to do a little bit of deductive reasoning here. If this is 8, then this is 4. And if this is 4, then this is 4. That makes this side 3, because 3 plus 4 has to be 7. You have to be able to look at pictures and be able to identify the missing lengths like that. So we're going to start with the arc. So that's just the curve. Arc equals half of pi times the diameter. That's half of pi times 8, which is 12.6. And so the total perimeter, that's just the arc. So the total perimeter equals 12.6 plus 3 plus 8 plus 3. Which is 26.6 centimeters. So there's my perimeter. Now area, I have to do two pieces. I have to do the area of 1 and area of shape 2. Area of shape 2 is really easy. That's base times height. That's 8 times 3. That's 24. But the area of the circle is half pi r squared. Half pi 4 squared, which is 25.13. So that our total area is 25.13 plus 24, which is 49.1 centimeters squared. Not hard, just time consuming. So let's look at number 7. Again, what shapes do we see here? You can cut it a couple different ways, but the one that I just drew is the easiest. So if this is 5, then this piece over here has to be 4, which means that the radius is 2. And if this is 3, then the other side must be 3. So again, now I have 2 shapes to find the perimeter and area for. So my arc, just the curve, is half pi times the diameter. That's half pi of 4. That is 6.28. So then my perimeter is the arc, 6.28 plus 5 plus 3 plus 9 plus 3. So I just went around, and that gives me 26.3 centimeters. Not squared, perimeter is a linear unit. So then I have to find the area of shape 1 and the area of shape 2. So area of shape 1, that's a half circle. So half pi r squared. Half pi, my radius is 2 squared. So that becomes 6.28. The area of my base is base times height, which is 9 times 3, which is 27. So the total area is 6.28 plus 27, which is 33.3 centimeters squared. So we're just doing pieces, okay? All right. Let's look at number 8. Now I want you to notice that there are actually 2 circles and a rectangle there. So this and this make up 1 circle, and this one and this one make up 1 circle. So when we do this, I'm gonna call it the circumference of the large circle and the circumference of the small circle. So the large circle is 12 times pi. The diameter of the large circle is 12, and the small circle, the diameter is 4, so that's 4 pi. So to find the perimeter, I'm only going around the circle. So there's my big circle, and here are the 2 small circle pieces. So perimeter is only those 2 pieces. So 12 pi plus 4 pi, that's 16 pi, which when you use the calculator now is 50.3 centimeters. Now the area, I have to include this rectangle now. So now my area is 3 shapes. 1, 2, 3. So area 1 equals pi 6 squared, which is 36 pi. Area 2, which is the rectangle, is 12 times 4, which is 48. And area 3, which is the small circle, is pi 2 squared, which is 4 pi. So the total area equals 36 pi plus 4 pi plus 48. Use the calculator with the pi button, and we get 173.7 centimeters squared for our total area. It's just about breaking it into pieces. So when you look at this last question, no crying. So if it appears to be a quarter circle, because that's the shape we've been talking about, it probably is. So quarter circles have to have edges. Hopefully they're drawn better than mine. So now what shape do we have? I see a square. So, and since this is the area that I'm looking for, the shaded area, can I just say that this is a square minus 4 quarter circles? Or it's a square minus a circle? Does that make sense to you? So for sure we're going to subtract. So first, to find the perimeter or the circumference, perimeter or circumference equals pi d. That's pi 7. That's 22 centimeters. Because it's just the outside of the circle. That's what the perimeter is of that shape. We drew the square, but I don't need to measure around that to put a fence. To find the area, that's where this square minus circle thing comes in. So if I write square minus circle, it's really basic, I know. The area of a square is 7 times 7. And the area of a circle is pi times 3.5. That's the radius squared. That's 49 minus 38.5. which comes out to be 10.5 centimeters squared. So I want you to look at the problems and see what you can assume based on the shapes and the formulas that you know to be able to solve them. Go ahead and you should be able to do 6.1B, day 2.